Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. I am confident you won't be disappointed and get ready to learn a lot. My name is Vivian Cassandra, and Vivian and I met via Facebook about 3 years ago when she helped me with my hedgehog rescue. Yes, you heard right, hedgehog. But I am a dog lover, and like all of you now, care for a pack of 3 dogs and several cats. Please make sure to mute your line. I will be monitoring the chat, so please post your questions for our Q&A at the end of the presentation. So let's get right into our topics for tonight, canine nutrigenomics. Take it away, Lillian. How did you first learn about take it away, Lillian.
So my story starts with my dog not being able to get up. And this was my heart dog. She was my soul dog. She was born into my hands. And I don't know if you remember that TV show called Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I named her that because I wanted her to be like a naughty, mischievous dog so that she would be my next agility champion. And she lived up to that like times 100. She was just, you know, naughty Labrador. She became one of my hard dogs. So 13 years later, she was there laying on her bed, not being able to get up. And what was more devastating was, you know, the look in her face, you know, when they get old. She was 13, you know, those milky eyes. And I was trying to help her get up. And, you know, this look in her face, like, please let me be. And for those of you that have had to make that horrible decision of deciding that, you know, it's time for euthanasia, you know how that, you know, really rips your heart. So, you know, she couldn't talk to me, but I could hear her say, like, you know, please let me be. And it just broke my heart. I had tried everything, absolutely everything with this dog: acupuncture, chiropractic, massage, injection, you name it. And nothing really helped. So one day I come home and Sabrina's there greeting us at the door, wagging her tail. And I was like, what's going on here? And when I get to the kitchen, I noticed that she had raided the kitchen counter. So this chubby little lab that needed help get up, somehow managed to get on the counter, pull a loaf of bread from the bag. I found her bag, you know, destroyed on her bed. And I was like, oh my God, I have my naughty dog back. And I was so happy. So what changed? 2 months prior to this, I had a very good friend who's an equine holistic vet introduce me to what we're going to talk about today. It's called activation. And this has changed the life of all of my family, but, you know, very near and dear to my heart is my dog. So that is what we're going to talk about. So of course, this was 2013, so almost 9 years. And a lot has evolved, and I have studied a lot more. So I'm not a vet, I'm not a nutritionist. I've just been training dogs for 50 years. I believe this is the most exciting health promoting technology that we have to help our dogs live longer, healthier. So I put together this presentation. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. We're going to talk about canine nutrigenomics, which is a new science that shows how nutrition can change gene expression, and we can use it to optimize canine health span. So what is health span? Is how long you live healthy. Now, like I said before, I'm not a vet, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm just a dog lover, a dog trainer for over 50 years. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA, and these products are not intended to cure, treat, or mitigate any disease. So I just want to put out this information so that you can connect the dots. One of the things that has me really, really upset is that dogs now have the highest rate of cancer of any mammal on the planet. And the last statistics were that 1 in 1.65 dogs will succumb to cancer. So this is a book I highly, highly recommend that you check out, The Forever Dog. It just came out last year, and they have done a wonderful job. So Rodney Habib is also the producer of this series, The Truth About Pet Cancer, which is a documentary where they go into very extensive interviews of like 7 or 8 holistic veterinarians. And they kind of put the whole picture of why is this happening. So they say that dogs have 35 times more rate of skin cancer, 4 times more breast tumors, 4 times more bone cancer, and twice the incidence of leukemia. And one of the first books that I read on natural healing or natural therapies for dogs was by Dr. Martin Goldstein. He's probably one of the oldest in this crowd. And he said, see, he graduated from Cornell in 73. And he said approximately only 1 in 10 dogs had cancer. So if they found a lump or something weird in a young dog, they never thought it would be cancer. So cancer was basically a disease of the old. And what he says now is that they're diagnosing terminal cancers dogs under 18 months. So this is another excellent book on this topic by Dr. Jean Dodds. And what she believes, and I wholeheartedly believe as well, is we have more influence on our dog's health than we imagined. And even if you're being confronted with a serious health condition, not give up. There's lots of things that can be done. So this is a compilation that I did here. Why are our dogs getting so sick? And I really think it boils down to this. Dogs are being exposed to a massive amount of environmental toxins. And not to go into each of one in detail, but all our dogs are exposed to vaccines, pharmaceuticals, antibiotics when they get diagnosed with certain ailments. If you live in a big city, there's probably lots of air pollution. Then there's all these products that we put on them to bathe them, to combat fleas and ticks, the collars, the spot-ons. A lot of you are walking your dogs on lawns that have been treated with pesticides. Glyphosate is a humongous problem. And then there's the indoors. What they're saying now is that our indoors, the air in our houses is sometimes even as toxic or even more toxic than the air outside because of the chemicals that we use to clean, because of the stuff that they spray on the fabric to make it stain resistant or flame retardant. Then if you use plugins or the sprays in the air, all these are things, the Wi-Fi, what's in the water, and then the food. I could just talk about the food itself. And remember, when we talk food, it's food and treats, because sometimes we forget about the treats. And when I go to the supermarket, I read the labels on some of these treats and I cringe, from food coloring, preservatives, things that I can't even pronounce. And then if your dog is fed a strict diet of kibble, what happens is both the protein, the animal protein, and the corn, wheat, soys, rye, beets, anything else that they use, the carbohydrates that are used to become part of this kibble, come from animals and crops that have been sprayed with this glyphosate. This becomes a huge issue. This is what is known as GMO, which stands for genetically modified organisms. And when they're talking about crops, what they have done is they've genetically modified them so they can withstand being sprayed with huge amounts of this glyphosate. So the weeds around these crops die, but the crops themselves don't. But what happens is this is not only on the crop, but then also it is, when it rains, it gets washed because it's water soluble. So it goes into the rivers. When it evaporates, it goes into our atmosphere. It gets rained down on us. So you can Google, how much glyphosate is sprayed around the planet, and it's, I don't know how many tons. So it is something that has become very, very, ingrained in our environment, and we cannot escape it. So all these environmental toxins are going to cause free radicals, and free radicals cause something called oxidative stress. And the easiest way for you to visualize this is when you leave an apple, you cut it, or an avocado, you leave it on your counter, and we know it's going to turn brown. So that is oxidation. When it comes in contact with oxygen, it gets oxidized. Now, what is happening inside our cells? So a free radical, let's call it, it's a bad guy. And what it's trying to do is it's trying to steal an electron. See, it's missing one here. So it steals it from a healthy cell. So there are over 200 diseases, including cancer. This is both for humans and animals. And they are associated with oxidative stress that is caused by those free radicals. Now, do you have an idea of how many free radicals your dog makes in just one day? It is estimated that dogs make 300 septillion free radicals per day. So this is a humongous number, and it is going to affect every single organ and organ system in your dog's body. The brain, the heart, the kidney, the liver, the joints, the gastrointestinal system, the immune system, the blood vessels, the skin, the lungs, and the eyes. One of the most common complaints why dogs go to the vet is skin issues and ear infections. So here we go. As soon as the immune system is depressed, then your dog can be prey to any kind of infection. And then when this oxidative stress damage accumulates over time, this is one of the theories of why we age, is this progressive accumulation of oxidative stress. If you are science oriented and you want to know a little bit more about this, you can go to this website. PubMed.gov stands for the online library of the National Institute of Health. So it's owned by the government. It's not owned by any particular company. And you can type oxidative stress and then any condition. So if you want to learn heart disease, autoimmune disorders, diabetes, cancer, liver disease, kidney disease, you name it, just type it there. So up to now, what we have been, the only possible solution that we have been, that we have in our hands is using direct antioxidants, right? So you have heard this, not just, especially for humans. You need to eat 7 to 9 servings of leafy green vegetables, colorful fruits, right? The mushrooms, the things that have lots of color. Why? Because they are loaded with antioxidants. The problem with this approach is that when you are consuming direct antioxidants, so for example, blueberries or kale or broccoli, one molecule of antioxidant from that good, nutritious food is only able to neutralize one free radical. So what this means is one good guy is giving up their electron to neutralize one bad guy, and then they're both done. So it's a one and done. So if you look at this number that we're making every day, that our dogs are making every day, this is barely going to make a dent. So think about a house on fire, and you're throwing a Dixie cup of water onto the fire. Like, it's really not going to go very far to quench that fire. And one thing that you have to keep in mind is that when dogs are eating just kibble, which is most of the dogs, I mean, this has zero color. I don't see anything in here. This food is cooked at very high temperatures, so a lot of the nutrients are just destroyed. So we have said, okay, then we're going to supplement, right? We're going to be vitamins and coenzyme Q10 and milk thistle and this and that, and we can just pile a ton of supplements, which gets costly, right? Especially if you have multiple dogs. So those are, but then again, you know, still this is just a one-to-one. So one antioxidant from a good supplement is only going to be able to neutralize one free radical. Is there a better way? Well, it turns out that there is, and this is the topic of this chat, nutrigenomics, how nutrition can affect our DNA. Virtually every gene has some direct or indirect relationship to nutrition. We really, really are what we eat. So genes, it turns out that we can turn them on or turn them off. This is a new field of science called epigenetics. Again, for those of you that are science inclined, you can write that word down, epigenetics, and very, very interesting. But very, very simply, what this means is that I can turn on or turn off genes. So genes are instructions, right? So it's almost like flipping a switch, like flipping a light. I can turn it on, I can turn genes on, or we can turn them off. And how they're turned on or off depends on what we eat. So those antioxidants, those nutrients, what they're doing is they're sending a signal. It's like an instruction to either turn on or turn off. So when we turn on pathways or genes that code to make more antioxidant enzymes, now we can make many, many, many more good guys than just by, you know, eating blueberries or kale or broccoli. So what is happening inside the cell is that we can activate, so these are gene instructions. We're going to talk specifically, I think these are the two, there's many, many, many hundreds, thousands of genes. We're going to specifically talk about two pathways. So think of a pathway as a blueprint, as an instruction. So like if you're building a house, you need a blueprint for the electrical and a blueprint for the plumbing and a blueprint for how to do the roof and the doors and all of that, right? So think of this as one blueprint. It's called Nrf2. It's a protein. It has a very long biochemical name I cannot pronounce. But it turns out that this flips, okay? It's like turning on these genes that code for protection, antioxidant protection, anti-inflammatory, and detoxifying enzymes. So this particular Nrf2 pathway has these properties. It can protect the cell against oxidative damage. It sends signals to the DNA to make more antioxidant enzymes. So now we don't have to take all that whole bunch of supplements. Anti-inflammatory proteins, detoxifying enzymes. And this is key for me because of that first slide that I showed you with all those environmental toxins. I really believe that it becomes an overload. Think about our dogs are smaller. So we're concentrating all those toxins on a smaller body. Dogs walk barefoot, they lick their skin, they lick their feet. So this is coming into direct contact. Whoops, one of my dogs tripped. It's coming into direct contact. They're literally eating it when they lick it off of their skin. We take showers every day so we can wash out some of this stuff. They don't. So and if a dog lives inside your house and we just go for a little walk and they don't have access to fresh air, like I said, all those toxins that are inside our home. So it's basically an overload. So it comes to a point where the body cannot detoxify, cannot get rid of all these toxic chemicals. This is another huge thing, DNA repair. Our bodies are built so magically perfect that they are able to repair DNA damage. But this is one of the things that oxidative stress, those free radicals, can impair. So when the DNA has, let's say, little parts that are broken, the cell cannot fix them. And then when that cell makes a copy of that cell, it's going to be a faulty copy. And apoptosis it's going to sound a little weird. It's programmed cell death. But all cells have a lifespan, right? So the cell divides and then it makes a new healthy cell, and then that cell lives for a certain time and it's supposed to die. When this process is messed up, scientists believe that is one of the theories of why tumors form, because the cells just keep multiplying, and they never stop. So this is the Nrf2. The Nrf1 pathway will affect something, these little organelles called mitochondria. And some of you may remember from 6th grade biology, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and that's exactly it. So mitochondria form little networks, but we have thousands and thousands. So the heart, the muscle, and the brain have the most amount of mitochondria. And it's at the tune of like 3,000 to 5,000 per cell. Imagine that. In a tiny, tiny cell, you have 3,000 to 5,000 of these. Why do we need so many? Because the mitochondria make something called ATP. And think of that as currency. It's like money. When we go to the store, we need credit card, check, or cash to pay for our groceries. Inside your cells, for the body to pay for everything it needs to make, the proteins, the lipids to maintain the cell wall, to make hormones, to keep skin healthy, to move, for everything, we need this little currency called ATP, and it's made here in the mitochondria. So as you can imagine, when our mitochondria stop functioning, all the cellular energy is going to decrease. So our physical performance is going to decrease as well. So when we say, oh, I'm so tired, it doesn't matter how much I sleep, I'm still tired. It's not that you're tired, it's your mitochondria are not working as properly and you don't have energy, like cellular energy, to keep going. So Nrf2 and Nrf1, it turns out that they can be activated. So again, activation is flipping that switch. And there is an Nrf2 product made by a company called LifeVantage that is made up of 5 herbs. These are 5 natural herbs. Same thing, the Nrf2. We have 5 herbs, and you may have heard, a lot of people have heard of green tea. A lot of people take turmeric. A lot of people have heard of milk thistle, grapeseed extract, all these things. Quercetin is now really huge in the news because of the properties to help the brain. So what this company did is there was a researcher from the University of Colorado, and it took him 40 years to get to a formula, specific ratio of these herbs, and he was able to patent it because it had the amazing ability of activate this Nrf2, and in doing so, he was able to prove that it can reduce oxidative stress in the cell, in every single cell in the body at the same time by 40% in 30 days. And when people kept on taking it, it kept on reducing it like to the level of a 20-year-old person. So this is super, super interesting. So the light blue is without Nrf2. This is how your oxidative stress goes up as you age. So this is a 20-year-old person, 40 years, 60 years, 80 years. Look how high it is. And then what they did with the trials is that people started taking this Nrf2 product, and look what happened. At the end of 120 days, they could not distinguish between the blood of an 80-year-old person and a 20-year-old person with the level of oxidative stress. So externally, of course, we're going to age and we're going to look older, but what's important is what's happening inside the cells. And then with the Nrf2, they found that it will activate the genes that code for the healthy mitochondria by 65 and 71%. These are 2 genes have funky names, that activate the mitochondria, all done with natural products. Now, you may be thinking, well, I can go to the vitamin shop, and I can get bacopa, and I can get green tea, and I can get milk thistle and turmeric. But the difference is, remember I said he was able to patent it? Look, here's the patent. This is from the US Patent Office. Composition for alleviating inflammation and oxidative stress in a mammal. So think big here. This is dog, cat, cow, goat, human, anything that drinks milk when it's a baby is a mammal. They will be benefited. So when they tested the ingredients individually, they had little negative or almost no effect on raising these enzymes. But this product that this doctor patented, called Protandim Nrf2, look, it was boom, 18 times more powerful than all these products individually. So yes, you could go to the shop and buy all these things, but guess what? You would not get the same effect, because it's like, I don't know, if I invited you to my house and I said, and I made you a chocolate cake, and you go like, oh my God, this is the best chocolate cake ever, would you give me the recipe? And I go, yeah, sure. It has chocolate, milk, eggs, sugar, flour, and vanilla extract. And there you go. So would you mix all those things and get my delicious chocolate cake? No, because you don't have the exact ratio. And this is why this formula is patent, right? It's like the patent of Coca-Cola. They have it under 25 locks because no, they don't want anybody to make, not that Coca-Cola is great for you, but you get the drift of what I'm saying. So one of the enzymes that gets elevated with this Nrf2 is glutathione. And write this name down. This is really, it's called the master detoxifying enzyme in our bodies. We're going to talk a little bit more about it, and I'm going to tell you why it's so important. So what is the difference between a direct antioxidant and an enzyme, an antioxidant enzyme produced by the cell? The difference is, remember how it was a 1-to-1 with the direct antioxidant? Well, now when we talk enzymes, it's 1 to 1 million. So one little enzyme can now destroy 1 million free radicals per second. Think about that. Every second, boom, 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. So what that does is now you see we can really make a dent into the amount of free radicals that our bodies and our dogs' bodies are making every day. So this is why this is such a radical new technology. So I love to talk a little bit more about glutathione because, like I mentioned at the beginning, the amount of environmental toxins that our dogs are being exposed to on a daily basis is just overriding their poor little bodies. So these are the benefits of glutathione. It increases energy, slows down aging, reduces muscle and joint discomfort. This is huge for dogs. It will strengthen the immune system, detoxifies the liver and the cells, improves mental focus and clarity, improves quality of sleep, reduces the effects of stress, improves the skin and athletic performance and recovery. So for those of us, I compete in agility with my dogs. So for me, focus and being able to recover, and if they have a minor injury, for them to come back quickly, those are all important. Also increase energy. And of course, who doesn't want to slow down aging, right? So this is another graph that you can see. This is the oxidative stress levels as we age. You see how it starts going up. And this is how our levels of glutathione start going down as we age. So you see there's a double whammy, right? We have more oxidative stress and less enzymes to detoxify our body and to help us fight those free radicals. So this is why I wanted to touch a little bit more on the mitochondria. It's the condition of the mitochondria dictate the capacity of the cell to function over time. If they decline, then the cellular operations decline with them. Think about the mitochondria as like the power plant in a city, right? If the lights go out, nothing in the city works, right? Or we don't have electricity in our homes, we can't run our washers, dryers, ovens, maybe the traffic lights don't work, or we can't get gas because there's no gas at the pumps don't have electricity to work, so everything shuts down. So what happens in our body is not that everything shuts down at the same time, but it starts declining, and that slowly dimming of the amount of mitochondria that we have can lead to a lot of things. So there is a mitochondrial disease, which is a genetic disease where people are born and they don't make enough mitochondria, and look at all the horrible things that happen. But it's not too far out to extrapolate and say, well, as my mitochondria naturally decline, well, look at the things that can start happening, right? So things like diabetes. I have a good friend that just had to put her dog down with seizures a few days ago. I hear this a lot of more dogs being diagnosed with seizures, liver failure, and unexplained, a lot of times, you find your dog, something's a little off, you go to the vet, no, everything's fine, they run a blood panel, no, everything's fine, go home, blah, blah. And then we come 3 months later and like, oh, now, his liver enzymes are elevated. So why? We don't know. He was fine 3 months ago. Well, here we go. Cancer, unexplained kidney disease, heart disease and heart failure, all these things can be related to faulty mitochondria. If you are really, really interested in this science, this is a lot of this information I got from this book. It's called Tripping Over the Truth, How the Metabolic Theory of Cancer is Overturning One of Medicine's Most Entrenched Paradigms. So this person, Travis Christofferson, he looks at all the research and and this is, they've known this for a long time. It's just the conventional way of treating cancer with chemo, radiation, and all these drugs is just so entrenched. But they have uncovered some very, very interesting things. So this really grabbed me. It says, if a cancerous cell nucleus is transplanted into a normal cell, the cell remains normal. However, if you transplant the mitochondria from a cancerous cell into a normal cell, the cell becomes cancerous. So cancer cells have damaged mitochondria, and they send emergency signals, and the DNA responds, and the cell begins to exhibit the hallmarks features of cancer: uncontrolled proliferation, that is that lack of apoptosis that I told you about, DNA mutations, and evasion of cell death. Once the mitochondria become damaged, they throw out reactive oxygen species, right? Those are the free radicals, that's the scientific name, and they are mutagenic and carcinogenic. So what this doctor says is, it's not that you have mutations in your DNA that cause cancer, is that as your mitochondria become damaged, then your DNA mutates, then you get cancer. So it's a theory, it's out there. If you want to know more about it, you're going to find a lot of information. So I wanted to do like a little recap. What is activation? Activation is we can turn on or off the genes. It's different than supplements. Why? Because they're 1,000,000 times more powerful, because we're using enzymes instead of a direct antioxidant. So there's an Nrf2 pathway that codes for, what that means is that it tells the cell to make more antioxidant enzymes, detoxifying enzymes, and anti-inflammatory enzymes. And the Nrf1 instructs the DNA to make more healthy mitochondria, and that will be felt in the body as having more energy and more vitality. So these two are like a 1-2, punch to our system to stay healthy. So I have a few examples here. Again, none of this is meant to treat, cure, mitigate any disease, but a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I don't know what these dogs have, but this is what happened when he was activated. This is a kitty from a friend of mine that when she rescued her, she had a broken foot. So you can see this is the paw. So you see the little pad is here, and she was using this part of the paw because of the way the paw was broken to step on it. So this huge callus had formed, and they did several surgeries, nothing worked. We started activating her. This is probably like 3 to 4 months. So this turned into this. This is Eli. He also belongs to one of my students. So Eli started limping, and when they took an x-ray, so this is an x-ray, this is how a normal knee should look like. This is how Eli's knee looked like. So when they first saw this x-ray, they called the specialist at the University of Florida because they thought it might be bone cancer. So when she came and looked at the x-ray, she said, no, it's just, his knee is in a horrible state. It's not cancer. We can do some arthroscopic surgery to clean it up. They did that. Nothing worked. And then they said, well, you might have to amputate the leg. But his other knee was not that good either. And Eli was, a young dog. And his mom, Michelle, was just heartbroken. So I said, hey, give this a try. So a few months later, she tells me, oh, who's doing great? And I'm like, I have forgotten about it. And she says, oh, Eli, he's jumping in and out of the car. He's running with the other dogs. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So she sent me a video, and I can't play the video because my internet doesn't support it. But this is last winter. She moved to Virginia, and this is Eli running uphill with all his 4 little legs, playing around with her grandkids, and she is so happy. He's lost weight. He's super happy. Bella is another beautiful case that we have. She was born with a liver shunt, and when her mom reached out to me, this was Bella's state. She wouldn't eat. She would lay like that, completely bloated, and 2 different vets told her she needed to put her down. And we started activating her, and this is Bella 6 months later with her little Halloween costume as a sushi. She started playing with her dogs, and sadly, that's a very untreatable congenital disease. So, she did pass away, but we did extend her life by quite a few months. These are, remember I said about the skin, that we have a lot of skin conditions. So here are before and afters. This Sharpay, this is a different one than this one, but obviously, horrible skin issues. Both their moms had tried everything in the book, nothing would help, and then started activating. And a few months later, I don't know the exact timeline. This is a puppy that had this like severe alopecia. And again, they tried baths and potions and lotions and nothing worked. Started activating. A few months later, this is how she looks. For those of you that have performance animals, Jordy is a gorgeous Belgian Tervuren. And we don't know why, he started having, literally, I call them like panic attacks. And he was in class, and all of a sudden something would spook him, and he would run into his car. We couldn't get him out again. And when he was indoors in shows, any noise, if a dog barked at him, he would like tuck his tail and just total panic. We start activating him. A few weeks later, he goes group 1, reserve best in show. Saya was a rescue. She's a mini Aussie, and the people that rescued her think that maybe she was with little kids, and kind of like the kids kind of scared her and tortured her a little bit. So she was deathly afraid of kids. She would bark her head off. She's also a competition dog. They started doing agility with her, and she would bark her head off. Helped immensely with the Nrf2. When she first started having lessons with me, I would have to stand like 20 feet away from her because she was so afraid. So she's gone on to get her championship. This is another student of mine, and so I love this because we did this almost as a game. Like we said, like, can you tell? So these pictures are 6 years apart. So she's been competing for a long time, and this was to commemorate her 15th agility trial championship. Not one, 15 championships she won. So we were telling people, okay, can you tell which is which? Like, which is when she was 6 and which is when she was 12, and nobody could tell because, as you can see, she's jumping just as high. So this speaks a little bit to, one of my heart issues, which is prevention, starting early. Lacey is a little papillon. She had all these dogs. They were older dogs. They had totally lost their mojo. They didn't want to go for walks, and now they're, this dog is 16. She's going for 2-mile walks a day. They really get a spring in their step, kind of like what happened to Sabrina. And I call this elusive diagnosis, for lack of a better term. So Thelma, she's in the UK, and she just started, feeling ill, and her mom was distressed. They took her to the vet, ran a bunch of tests, put her on antibiotics, do this, do that, nothing helped. And she was just literally, this was how she was living and kind of wilting away. And again, we started activating. We were able to get the product in UK, and here she is. She's running around, and her coat glistens. She put her weight back. This is Walter. I met Walter about a month ago. Same thing. She was told by 2 different vets he needed to be put down. He was not drinking. He was not eating. He had lost 15 pounds. You can see his ribs here. And then when we met him, this probably was like 2-3 months, about two months after that incident, he started drinking, eating again, going for walks with his mom, going for rides in the lake on the boat, and he just looked fabulous. He was running around, playing with his sister. So this is, I want to end with this, with the prevention part, because I am not a reactive person. I am in the prevention department. So if I find out that there's something that I can do to help my dogs, I don't want to wait till I have an issue, because I really think that when we discover we have an issue with our dogs, a lot of time has passed, because dogs are so stoic. They're very good at hiding what's going on. So, oh, he's a little off. And then again, you go run some tests. No, everything's kind of okay. And then another 3 months go by. And what happens is that this is a new study that came out, I think a couple of years ago, done at one of the universities in California, where they have mapped the human genome, the dog genome, and they have found these aging markers. And so they've kind of correlated the two. And we've all heard that theory about 1 year in a dog is the equivalent of 7 in a human. Well, we were way off. So what happens is that dogs age exponentially the first 4 years of their lives, and then the curve kind of slows down. So sadly, at 1 year of age, which would be approximately here, your dog is the equivalent of a 30-year-old person. At 4 years, your dog is the equivalent of a 52-year-old person. And then you see it slows down. So then by 9, they just age another, let's say, 15, 16 years, right? So they age 50 years in the first 4, and then the last 4, they just age like 15. So what this means is that we have to start early. We have to start early interventions to help our dogs, because if we wait till they're 4, 6, 7 years old, which is what I was doing, I really thought that, my dog was starting to be old when he was like 8. Well, I we were so wrong. So by the time your dog is 8 years old, it's like a 60-some-year-old person. So the stats now are that 50% of dogs over 10 years of age will be diagnosed and die of cancer. So when they're 10, right, they're here, they're equivalent of a 60, and 50% of them will die of cancer. Now, when I was a little girl, I remember dogs would live to be 18, 20, and I really think that now, you know, I see dogs diagnosed with cancer. They're 5 years old, they're 6 years old. This friend of mine that put her dog down a few days ago, she was 12. I have a student that had lung cancer. He was 9 years old. So we are really, you know, it's something we're doing is between the environment and the food and all those other things that I talked about in the beginning. We are literally cutting their lifespan, and they're becoming the canaries in the coal mine. So to end, I wanna call you to, you know, join us. We need more voices. We want more people to know about this information. Vivian and I and other people in my group, we're on a mission to help 100,000 animals live longer and happy lives by showing this information. This company is in all these countries, so we're looking to build teams in all these countries. We have now a lady that joined us from the UK, a lady that joined us in Canada. So we're working with a very successful team, and we're showing women all around the world how to create additional income. The elephant in the room is, yes, this is network marketing. And you know, when my dog started catching treats in the air, barking at intruders, playing tug with the other dogs, and just being the naughty dog that I you know loved her for, I do not care how this product is delivered. I just want it in all my animals. So I don't care if this is sold online. I don't care if this is network marketing. I don't care if I have to go buy it at the store. I just want it for all my animals, because I don't want this happening at earlier and earlier ages. I want my dogs to live long, happy lives. So, you know what, how many more Eli's are out there? How many more Walters and Thelmas being told, oh, you know, we don't know what's going on. You know, you need to put them down. You need to put them down. And then we see them a couple of months later, just vibrant, you know, like my Sabrina, she was my soul dog. So she got another 2 years. That's like 10,000 hours extra. Like, you know, how many more hours do you want with your dog? And do we want other people to experience the same thing? I certainly do. You know, this makes me very emotional. This is Eli 4 years later, happy and running on all 4 legs. This is a little video that I can show because, like I said, my internet doesn't support it. But Michelle told me, like, you know, there's a creek at the end of our property. Now he jumps and he clears it. So the creek is from here to here. So it's, you know, bit larger, longer than Eli. And he's just running, and he hops to the other side and keeps on running. And this is a dog that 4 years ago was told he needed to have his leg amputated, and his mom was looking for a cart because he thought that he was going to have to be amputated on both legs eventually and have to get a cart. So my call to you is, you know, get all your loved ones activated as soon as possible. I have been training dogs for 50 years, and I honestly believe this is the most important, simplest, easiest, and profound technologies that we can use to really help our dogs live healthier and a lot longer. So I want to thank everyone. Let me stop sharing. So, okay. So I want to thank everyone for, you know, coming here. Please get back with the person that invited you or that sent you the replay. Get your questions answered, but most of all, get activated, join our teams so that we can spread the good news to everyone. So I'm going to stop the recording and get it back to you, Vivian, in case there's some questions so we can answer them.